Hi, welcome to Drive and Thrive, episode 6, I think. We could do a recap. There's been a few episodes before, but I'm just going to remind myself maybe the last two ones. Right, so the number 4, I think, was about the first 90 days. Okay, so we remind ourselves that we are joining this fantastic company. Come on, let's be honest, the stubborn company. We are bringing to the world a solution to take care of all the stubs, the secret stubs out there, right? And we are going to turn them into valuable materials. Yeah, that's a mission, right? And we are just joining this company as their next senior IT leader in whatever remit, whatever sort of silo. I'm talking about silos, see, already. So we spoke about the first 90 days and how to set ourselves up for success, get the best out of the first 90 days, try to get quick wins, get strategic, establish our brand, and eventually, continue in this company or leave if it's really not for us, if the fit is not good. That's also what the first 90 days are about, okay? I'm going just to turn that off. There you go. And then in the last one, we touched on a very, very important framework, actually the central framework of Drive and Thrive, one of the key ones, which is the SOAP framework, strategy on a page. Okay, so we introduced strategic thinking and the importance as part of these first 90 days to get strategic very quickly, understanding the company strategy, and at the same time establishing our own strategy and conveying it to our team. Okay, so I hope you have that in mind. And now, of course, after maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks max in the role, you start getting up at full steam, right? You're in your first 30 days. Come on, start to get things done, so to speak. And you're a leader. And one of the common situation and predicaments that you will face as a leader, especially if you have a large team and a number of reports and several problems to deal with, is going to be the very common problem of multitasking. Yeah, that's what we all have to do more or less in our jobs, in our lives, even in our personal life, multitasking. And there's a lot of predefined ideas, right, about multitasking. Some people say that men are not wired for multitasking whilst women are. That's very sexist. I found that very not inclusive at all and very sexist. The reality, and research will prove, and I'm not going to prove the point here, but you can look it up, but research proves that multitasking is absolutely not human. It's not natural, okay? One would argue that indeed, in the specialization of tasks back in the days, during prehistoric times, cavemen and Neolithic and all that, maybe women became more specialized in domestic tasks requiring a little bit more of multitasking, whilst men became more specialized into hunting and gathering, and that they required more focused on a single goal, so to speak. The reality is that in 2024, in this 21st century, we are not wired for multitasking, right? We only as good as our ability to focus on a task, right? And to do it properly from beginning to the end, and try to avoid falling short of it and just seeing it through and delivering, right? That's what we do in our private lives, and of course, that's what we are asked to do on the workplace as well, right? So when you're a specialized worker and an office worker, it's very likely that your job is very well defined, right, in a particular compartment with a set of defined tasks that you can easily slot in different days of the week, or even within a day in different slots, right? You do something in the morning, early morning, then late morning, then early afternoon, then late afternoon, okay? And then maybe there's a special task for the Monday and another special task for the Friday, these kind of things. So you can end up having a diary, right, in Outlook or whatever, where, you can pre-slot your activities, right? And when you fill timesheets, which can be the case depending on your work environment, it's fairly easy to, from in this slot of 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, I've done this, right? And this and this. So you're very likely to be able to focus on your task and to be in a given context for a period of time sufficiently long for you to build up your momentum, your focus, reach the flow state. We'll come back to this idea of flow state at some point. Deliver productively, and then at some point take a break, reiterate, take a break, and then eventually complete the task and deliver it. That's the normal working day for most of us out there, right? Well, unfortunately, not when you're a manager and a leader, right? And the reason being is that suddenly there's a number of streams of information and of work and lines of report and channels of communications which open to you, right? And which are all becoming a chance for you to receive a different stimulus, okay? Facing that, from 1 minute, you receive an email or a phone call and you're in a given context in this conversation, which is going to take 10 minutes. And then you look at your to-do list and you see that you have this report to prepare for your steering committee. And you are going to start being in the context of preparing this report using whatever technique you have, the Pomodoro technique. Again, we'll talk about all that, the GTD technique, get things done technique. There's plenty of things to focus and be productive, right? And also to manage procrastination and all that. It's not the topic today, right? Today the topic is about managing this constant interruption and disruption of things, because as you start working on this report for your steering committee, someone knocks at your door and one of your report has a problem and needs your attention, right? And there you go, right? You are caught naturally as a leader and as a manager into the incessant influx of information, and you have to deal with multitasking. But again, as we said, multitasking is not natural. It's very, actually, if anything, it's very stressful. It's very tiring. It's going to take a dive or put a dent into your productivity, your personal performance. It's very distressing, multitasking. But it's not really just the multitasking. Most importantly is what I call context switching. And that's really hard. Context switching is really the next level up after multitasking, right? Because you could multitask in a given context, still doing the same sort of thing with the same kind of people, right? But context switching is one level up. And when I'm talking about context, I want to give some examples, right? So switching context might be, for instance, indeed a particular task, right? So you have the context of working for risk management and to prepare this meeting. And then you have another context, which is to work for another meeting. That's one. So that's task-driven context. But there's also a people-driven context, right? You're a manager, so you have to deal with multiple people. You have your boss first. So you can be in the context of reporting to your boss and having to be in a particular mindset to communicate with this person, right? Him or her. But then suddenly you have your test manager coming in and asking for personal time. He or she is coming to you not for work-related circumstances. They have some personal issue to talk to you about, right? There's something happening in their life that is going to lead them to ask you to take some time off, to go working from home, or to take a day off, or to have whatever it is, right? So this is a different person, and it's getting out of the work context. It's becoming personal, right? Then suddenly you remember you have this meeting with this external supplier, right? Or this candidate you're going to hire, right? So again, suddenly you're going to put yourself in the mindset of a recruiter, or you're going to put yourself in the mindset of a negotiator, right? Of a procurement sort of person. You're going to negotiate a price or terms and conditions or SLAs, or you're going to have to manage a group for a post-mortem session, right? On the big problem that happened last week, and suddenly you remember that tomorrow you've got this post-mortem, or actually now it's called, you just have the alert. It's now during your lunchtime, so you're hungry. You want to have your lunch, but you have this post-mortem to run. And this post-mortem requires you to come in with a impartial and blameless mindset, because that's what post-mortems are all about, right? Facilitating a session to get to the root cause and then to start defining improvement actions. So as you can see, context switching is becoming one level up. It's more complex because it requires for you to switch something in your brain, right? And in that regard, I've been pondering about this podcast, whether or not I would do it in the switch or in Drive and Thrive, right? But the switch, and we might come back to this kind of context switching in the switch, but more in your personal life, right? How it might be necessary sometimes to put yourself in a special mindset and in a special listening stance for a particular problem. But here, I want to address context switching in the professional context, on the workplace, for you as a manager, because it's every day, right? That should be the number one problem we talk actually when we are in sort of therapy groups as between leaders and managers. The first thing we would share is say, I struggle to deal with all these tasks I have to do and with the diversity of situations I have to handle. Right? It's really hard. It's taking a strain and a toll on you, right? But the good news is that it is not impossible, right? Of course, you are just human, and you keep reminding to your wife or your husband at home, your partner, or to your boss and your employees that you're not Superman or Superwoman, right? Of course, you're just human. Nevertheless, you're a special kind of human. You are seasoned, you've got some experience, right? And you've got particular skills and abilities that have led you today to be in this leadership position, right? And this skill set should include the one I want to talk about today, which is the ability to switch context, right? So it's the switch in a sense, but for context. As I said, at times you're going to be a boss, at times you're going to be a colleague, at times you're going to be an architect. So let's talk about IT, right? At times you're going to be an architect, a solution designer. At times you're going to be the devil's advocate. So you're going to do code reviews, peer reviews, or you're going to be in a go, no-go meeting for a software release that requires you to be a little bit on the critical thinking stance, right? And risk assessment stance, right? So it's like, you could also say that you're putting a different cap on every time. I'm going to put my management cap. Sometimes you're going to be the father or the mother or the social assistant. Let's take my boss cap off and put my social assistant cap on. Let me listen to your personal problem, right? You want to share with me, you want to be vulnerable and share with me some of your personal issue. That's okay. I'm your manager, and of course we are going to sit down privately in a closed room to talk about your situation, right? So you're going to do public speaking, right? You're going to have external visitors, and you're going to have to deliver a keynote. So you need to become the evangelist, right? Or the salesperson. You're going to be in a pre-sales meeting or sales meeting, and that requires you to be in a sales mindset. It's possible, right? But you need to practice that, right? And I've got a couple of hints and tricks for you to be able to cultivate that progressively and to become better and better and better at that. And at the end of the day, you will endeavor to be as good as you can be in any situation, any context, right? Any task, any audience. You will gear yourself up to switch and to be in the right mindset. That will be perceived eventually as a superpower, right? And people will eventually be truly amazed and inspired by, how can you do it? How can you be so quickly this and that? It's called practice. It's called awareness. It's called, steadying, calming your flow of thoughts, quietening your mind, and doing the exercise I'm going to talk about, right? So the first thing I want to mention is an acronym that I learned when I was in one of my previous roles. I can say the name now. I was at National Australia Bank, and I was lucky to be part of this business unit called UBank, and we did, it was a digital bank, retail, right? But a very innovative one for millennials, so we were on a mandate to innovate and to be pioneering the roadmap of the big bank, the big sister bank, the Red Star as we called it, in terms of user experience, features, all that, and also time to market, right? Agility and all that, right? And we were trained, we were coached back then by an external consulting company, which helped us a lot cultivating this high performance mindset, I spoke previously about the 4 pillars of high-performing teams. I took that from back in the days, right? All these kind of things. The 5 strategic frameworks, I took that from back in these days. One of the things I'm bringing today from this past experience, and fellow you bankers, if you hear me, you would remember also these days, was from our CEO, Lee Hatton, back then. She had this mantra. Actually, she had 2 mantras, but the first one was, you need to be a VIP. In any circumstance, you need to be a VIP. So we all know what VIP stands for, usually. It's a very important person. Okay, that's the common meaning of this acronym. And it is true, as leaders and managers, we are very important persons from the perspective of the business, right? We are the high-paid workers, right? We are the ones presumably making decisions, defining the strategy and all that. But here, it's different. VIP, the first meaning of VIP, which I've since then expanded on, but was, number 1, you need to be a visionary. You're a leader, you need to have a vision. Always, on anything. Or you need to be able, whatever you're doing, you need to be able to connect it to the vision. Right? You need to have this ability to align, always look at your North Star, right? Find, or at your compass. What is the vision saying? Oh, it's a little bit like Jack Sparrow in Pirate of the Caribbean with his funky magical compass. It's the vision. Okay, the vision says that. So I'm visionary, always. I always have in mind the vision. And of course, I share this vision with others. Okay, that's one, V. You need to be an I, inspirational. And that's really, really important, and I want to spend some time on that. It's not about having inspiration as in being creative. It's not this kind of inspiration, right? It's being inspirational, which means that you need to be able to trigger, to prompt, and to drive inspiration in the minds of other people, right? So, feeding from the vision, you need to articulate this vision and be able to convey it in a manner that is going to inspire others, right? Because at the end of the day, the success of a strategy, right, and of an idea in general, any idea, is only as strong as it can be communicated, understood, propagated. It's a concept of contagion, right? It's like you're passing on a virus, but a good one, right? It's really this concept. So inspiration, right? When you speak in an inspired manner, people listen. At the extreme case, people can be in awe, right? They can be captivated, fascinated, mesmerized, hypnotized, or simply, elated, excited, enthused, right? Because you're communicating the vision in an inspired manner that, sheds a light and looks at the vision and say, okay, now, of course, so obvious. Now I understand what it means, right? It becomes meaningful. Okay, so always strive to be inspirational. That doesn't mean being loud. That doesn't mean being a jerk and arrogant. And no, just choose your word and work on your communication style. Right? How you're going to convey simple messages. The most powerful messages are often the simplest. Okay. So VI, visionary, inspirational. And then be a P, passionate, right? Why are you in this workplace? Okay, you could be at this workplace because you just want a paycheck. You need to make a living, let's be honest. We all do need that. That's obvious and granted, right? And that's probably what a number of people in your organization are here for, right? Of course, they want to enjoy their job, but at the end of the day, they're here to make money and make a living, okay? But if you came to a position of leadership, it's for something else, right? And it's not just to fill in some paperwork, right? Or to take a dive, or to take responsibility when shit hits the fan, excuse my French, okay? No, it's not just that. You are here to be one of the cogs and one of the relays, the proxies of the strategy of the company, right? So you need to be able to have understood it, factored it in, right, and then communicate it. So in an inspirational manner, that's one, but most importantly, in a passionate manner. You need to believe. And it's not about faking it, right? It's about having a passion for what you're doing. And I know it's not always easy, right? There's always days where we're coming in the morning and, well, you know what, I don't feel like it today. You do your mindset check in the morning and it's clearly a big cloud with a storm or it's a snowflake figure, right? Yeah, you're frozen, you don't know what to do, right? But taking the average feeling you have towards the job, right? Passionate. Of course, you need to love your job, and that needs to be felt, right? And that doesn't mean that you need to be, a Nancy and, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I'm passionate about everything, everything. You don't need to have your pink glasses on. Of course not. It's not just that. But you need to have a real passion. When I was at Humane, that was passion for customers. Right? And the passion for the millennials in particular that were among our customers, because we wanted to be them. We wanted to impersonate them and understand what they were expecting through our e-banking, through our mobile banking app, through our customer service, through our complaint resolution process, right? There's this passion of saying, yes, we want to be the best online banking experience out there without a branch open in the country, just digital, okay? This kind of passion, VIP. All right, so when you enter a situation, remind yourself that, right? You switch context, you need to be in this context, and you need to be a VIP. Now, what I've found over the years is that, of course, this is a bit reductive, right? In some situations, VIP can be a bit off topic or too far-fetched, right? And that's true because there are a number of situations, right? Of types of situations, right? And which brings me to another saying that the CEO had, which was, guys, whatever you do, because we were a small business unit, part of a big bank, right? So we were the little green man of Sydney versus the red star in Melbourne, so to speak. That was funny, right? This sort of us and them. But when we were dealing with the big bank, of course, we were begging for favors and budget and all that and exceptions. Lee used to tell us, guys, the good mindset is be hungry, but humble. Hungry, but humble. Hungry, but humble. And I have to say, over the years, this has really been, since then, in the back of my mind all the time. There are situations where you need to be hungry and be a VIP, a hungry VIP. Okay? And then there are situations where you need to be a humble VIP, more humble, right? And it's going to be in the remit of, overlaying an emotional state and the way you are going to communicate as a VIP, right? And it's not going to be exactly the same VIP, right? That we are going to talk about, but it's still the same mantra: be a VIP. Okay. And I think I'll have to take my computer out as we speak because I took some notes about that, and I want to have them under my eyes, right? But that struck me, this sheer realization that indeed there are situations where you need to be hungry, and others where you need to be humble. And then I asked myself, okay, well, are there only these two kind of situations? Is it really how this works? Or can there be a little bit more situations, right? And I bring you back to thinking about the kind of situations you can manage, right? In a given day. I gave you examples to start with, which were, for instance, you may have a root cause analysis, you may have a solution design review, you may have a one-on-one conversation with one of your employees. Would that be performance monitoring, or just regular one-on-one, or someone who is really in trouble in their personal life, right? And of course, you're going to leverage the VIP motto, but differently in all these situations. Okay, I'm just looking where it is. Just give me a sec. Yeah, there you go. I've got it. So I've added to hungry, but humble. I've added two H words, or HU words, so to speak, HU, right? Just for the sake of mnemotechnics, really, remembering it. So being a VIP, that's easy to remember. But hungry, humble, humane is the third one. And that's going to help you deal, with the situations where it's highly interpersonal. Can be transactional, can be emotional, but you will have to be humane because there will be really interpersonal tensions or connections of a kind, right? Typically, you're handling a difficult situation with one of your reports or one of your employees, member of your team. And that could be a performance problem, that can be a family issue, it can be this kind of thing. So in that situation, you're going to be humane, or it could be like a conflict resolution with a supplier. Right? And it can be a small company supplier supplying services to your big company. And of course, you're tempted to be just stick to the rules and be by the book and just smash them, right? And get them to pay a heavy fine or penalties, what it is, right? But maybe if you bring the human element into it, you'll add an element of consideration about, I don't want to kill them, and I don't want to crush this person, right? I want them to go out of that with a bit of dignity and potentially we're still solution-oriented, So humane, right? And then the fourth one, right? So hungry, humble, humane, humorous. Yeah, sometimes we need to be humorous, right? I'm not British, but I still contend, I'm Australian, French-Australian, but I contend now that humor helps solving a lot of situations, right? In particular in the workplace, in particular in the space of politics, of culture, of interpersonal interactions, being humorous can help, right? So I want to rewind back and say, so if we've got these four domains, hungry, humble, humane, and humorous, how do we derive and decline, right? Derive the VIP concept in this context, right? I would say that the initial VIP, which is, I remind you, visionary, inspirational, and passionate. Sorry, I'm doing a bit of body language here. That's for the hungry mindset, right? So for hungry, that's what you would do. Visionary, inspirational, passionate. Now, if you are in a humble context or kind of situation, you would give a different meaning to your VIP, right? You would still be a VIP, a very important person in the room, by being virtuous, practicing virtue. So you will refer back to your core values, the core values of your company, the core values of society, the laws, human rights. You will practice virtue, right? And that includes a lot of things like patience, being not judgmental, being fair, strive for justice, these kind of things. Okay, so you'll be virtuous. Being humble, you would be intelligent. So you would deal with people and with situations in an intelligent manner. You would try to understand. You would exert your rational brain and this part of your brain that can rationalize and use intelligence to make sense of things and not be unreasonable, right? So this is really the call to use reason, okay? You'd be virtuous, you would be intelligent, okay? And then finally, you would be patient, right? Being humble is an invitation also to be patient. And that means, in particular, being, accepting to be on the receiving end, right? Being in passive and listening mode, right? Wait, someone in front of you needs to pass on a message, or you need to let go the anger, right? The frustration, and you need to be the one being humble and just take it, flexing just like a reed, right? And not breaking like the oak tree, just flexing, right? And just be humble. And admit, be fair, be honest, virtuous. If you're at fault, if you did something incorrect, if you made a mistake, just fess up, right? That's the VIP mindset in the humble kind of situation, right? Virtuous, intelligent, and patient. Okay? So far, so good? All right. Now let's be a VIP as well. Always a VIP, right? We always want to VIP, but slightly different. And in particular, in a humane kind of context and situation, right? If you need to be human and to build a rapport, right, with the person or the persons you're dealing with in the room, would they be suppliers, would they be team members, would they be peers, would they be even, even leadership? That's probably not going to be that often, but anyways. You would need to be a VIP, and with this person or these persons, you would need to be yourself vulnerable. That's the V. So you need to be ready at some point to let down your guard, to a degree, right? But it's okay sometimes to be vulnerable, in particular with your peers, and that's what we do, for instance, when we are doing team building, right, or leadership team formation, or even just high performance team formation, right? There's the forming stage, the storming stage, the norming stage, and then the performing stage, right? But in the forming stage, yeah, that's where we invite people to be vulnerable with each other. That's to build trust and psychological safety. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Look, I've been there before. Myself, I understand because I can relate. I can tell you, it happened to me too before. I'm vulnerable. Okay. You need to be inclusive, right? So make sure that you don't indulge in stereotypes, any form of discrimination, of predefined judgment. So refrain from exerting your, passing on a judgment. Even if whatever the persons or the person in front of you have to say and to share, just be accepting and inclusive. That's okay. Yeah, you're welcome in the fold. Whatever it is, you're welcome in the fold. So far, we'll deal with the consequences of the situation or maybe what you have done later, right? And we'll take action. But for now, as we are in this moment, being humane is also being inclusive. Okay, so you can be vulnerable, you can be inclusive. Okay, and being humane, you will try also to be purposeful. That's the P I propose. Being human, you need to remind to you all the purposes that you have around you in the landscape and in your life, right? And that's the purpose of the company, right? And I think you might be surprised to see that in the purpose of the company, there might be something that actually helps you justifying being in a human mindset, for instance, right? It's not completely rational to find a connection between these two, right? But that could be also the sense of purpose in your own life, right? What you think your purpose is as a leader, as a professional, but also as a human being, right? What's your purpose in society? What's your purpose in life? What's your purpose towards this human being or these human beings you have in front of you, right? You may need to take responsibilities in regard to this purpose, right? And whatever you do, whatever you decide, do it with a purpose, not act on a whim or fall into the prefabricated opinions or ways to deflect. So easy to deflect from an embarrassing or difficult situation with prefabricated mindsets. We think it's our opinion or this. No, we've just taken something and thrown it to the face of the other party as deflection. Okay, so think and act with purpose, right? In this moment, that's what being human will be. Human. So you're going to be vulnerable, you're going to be inclusive, and you're going to be purposeful. Right? Typically, again, HR situation, one-on-ones, right? You're managing the performance of one of your team members, or you're handling a conflict between two of your team members, or you're trying to find the best way to deal with a mistake or with a personal circumstance in their life, right? Okay. So we've seen hungry, humble, humane. Let's finish on a happy note and talk about when it's suitable to be humorous, right? And maybe it's me, maybe it's my style, and maybe you won't find that in all leaders, and that could be in particular in some traditional verticals like financial services where I'm exerting today, right? Tied up people, three-piece suits, and it's also European, very influenced by. I'm in Switzerland. I'm on the French side Swiss romande, as we say, right? The French side of Switzerland, which is of course more Latin. So we tend to be a little bit more playful and, have a more informal and casual approach to professional relationships, right? But if you go to the German side, Zurich or Zug or Bern, Basel, etc., different story, right? Humor might not be your best weapon, but at least I claim that at least in team building situations or incident, we talk about IT, right? So situations where shit hits the fan again, it happens, right? And suddenly everyone is running like headless chickens around the place. We're all gonna die, right? Because there's an incident in production. Okay. Sometimes a little bit of humor is going to help removing the drama, distressing everyone, and start bringing everyone around the table, leaning forward to be in solution mode. Okay, so I contend that humor is a true the true fourth HU word to use here, right? So in that context, you'll be a VIP too. Yeah, always a VIP as a leader, always a VIP, right? No matter what. But in that case, you would be first vibrant, right? It's a bit of a difficult word to explain, and of course the purists in you will look it up, right? But being vibrant is being a little bit intense and rich in your interaction, right? And you're going to give away in your way of talking and even in your body language, in your way of being, you're going to let out a thicker layer of your skin, right? You're going to give more material, right? You'll be vibrant, right? And people who are going to have a sense that that's a bit of the true Lucas here, and that's interesting, right? Usually we've got only the surface, right? In most situations we only see the surface, but suddenly we can peel the onion skin and we see what's under, right? And that might be some cathartic moment with your team, in particular in crisis, right? But not only, it can be in team building, so offsite or field journey, right? Field trip, where suddenly you turn up in a different attire, for instance. You turn up with not unshaved because it's casual. The rules have been defined, and suddenly, you appear a little bit more authentic, right? So being vibrant is giving away suddenly a thicker layer of your true self. It's tricky. It's fine balance. Don't use that if you don't have already a high level of self-awareness and self-control, because it's got some adverse effects, right? And that can be difficult to recover from. Right? When you start giving away too much of yourself, people can feel entitled to also embrace different behaviors towards yourself, right? For instance. So really a fine line to navigate. But anyways, I want to stick to that, to my decision to put forward this word, vibrant. Okay? And that's going to set a different tone to the conversation and the interaction you're building in this humorous moment, right? In that space, you can be imaginative, right? So typically a humorous moment will be welcome when you're doing an offsite and you're in a brainstorm moment, right? Because you're going to unlock the chakras of people by being vibrant, right? But also by starting to show and share things that you're thinking out of the box. You're going to exert your lateral thinking abilities, right? And be imaginative. And that's very powerful, because people might be used to see you operating only on one mode, right? Which is, of course, the manager mode, the leader mode, and following the procedures and leading by the book. The good book, still leading by example, but the book. So, and it's charted. People know you like that. But suddenly you're going to show that, actually you can think differently, right? And being imaginative is also going to unlock and inhibit some interactions. Again, we're in the space of making sure you do that in a measured and controlled way, but it's super powerful because it's going to spark in turn imagination in the mind of the people you're interacting with, right? Or the example of an offsite is good, or team building and all that. And then finally, the P will be to be playful, right? And it's okay. It's okay, of course, to make jokes, right? It's okay to give it to someone, and it's okay to take it, right? So it's okay to play, right? Because being humorous, we authorize ourselves to use humor. So that means that at some point we make a joke, we make a pun, or we make a little bit of a fool of ourselves. We start using a little bit of ridicule or absurd thinking, right? In all that, right? So it starts being very playful, and actually starts being a sort of turn-based interaction where people take turn, right? And of course, there can be a little bit of a joust. It could be a verbal joust and challenge, or it could be, even in who has the craziest idea, right? So, and playful is powerful again in brainstorm situations. It's also good to break the ice in some situations where you need to spark interactions, communications, and a dynamic. You've got an audience which is frozen here, right? Typically, that could be in sales. Another good example where you can be in the humorous mindset. You would come hungry, right? Of course, if you're in a sales meeting, but you might at some point switch into the humorous arena to again break the ice, right? You've read the room, and now you know you are going to crack a joke, or you're going to make a personal, self-deprecation on something fun, just to start a smile. You can see this rictus at the corner of the CEO or the chief procurement officer at the other end of the room, and you're onto something, right? I want to mention here also something, a big sales lesson I got from my best friend and ex-business partner, Pascal. Pascal, if you hear this one. But in sales, typically, he used to say that, selling something is not hard, right? What is hard is find what to sell. What am I going to sell to this person? Right? So that's the prospection. And finding what the person needs is a bit of an exercise, right? And it's a very tense exercise where you try to exert your reason and be rational, and you come hungry and humble in this kind of sales meeting, right? Hungry and humble at the same time, right? The exercise is really, the analogy is you have a bowling ball suddenly in your hands. The bowling ball is the client or the company you're trying to understand what you can sell to them, right? And you know how bowling works, right? You want to send the ball, the ball to the, I don't know how you call that in English, right? The key to the sticks, and you want to be able to strike, right? And to send the sticks all down, okay? You want to be able to throw it. And for that, you need to be able to put your 3 fingers in the holes, which have been carved in there for this purpose, for you to get a grip, and then be able to throw it, right? And a good sales moment is when you find the holes, right, in the bowling ball. Click, put your fingers there, and you can roll. And then you found something to sell to the company, and then the rest is just so easy, okay? Well, you come hungry, not too hungry, because you might have, the customer going, oh, hold your horses. I'm not interested in your services. If you come too humble, customer is going to get bored, right? All right, what do you have to sell to me, right? Actually, you're same old, right? I've seen so many companies like yours, and I'm not sure you're going to sell me anything, right? So sometimes cracking a joke and connecting, breaking the ice, and finding actually some, commonalities through humor is extremely powerful, right? So you will be like that, and you can be playful, okay, in that way. All right, I've spoken a lot already. I'm getting to the 45 minutes mark, so I think I'm going to stop here, but I want to wrap it up. We've been talking about you as a leader, starting to feel the heat of multitasking and constant context switching. Actually, it's 30 days in the job and you're already on the verge of burnout potentially, right? Because if you're a junior, so to speak, a first-time senior leader, you don't have the experience, right? You have not felt the ropes yet, right? So No, you can control that, right? It's normal. It's always going to be like that. As a leader, you will have constant, incessant influx of incoming inquiries and information coming to you, right? So you have to be able to deal with that. It's not about multitasking only. You'll have to manage your focus, and we'll come to this concept of focusing and for high performance later on. But to give the best of yourself and to be the most effective, to have the most impact at any time of the day, in any situation, with anyone, you need to become a master at context switching. And I'm giving you this key, which is think every time how you're going to be a VIP in this particular context. And this context can be of four kinds. It can be a context where you need to be hungry, sales. It can be a context where you need to be humble. You're going to ask something to your boss or to a committee, right? Or, yeah, this kind of example. You may have to be humane, and that's going to be difficult interpersonal situations. Or you may have to be humorous, right? Again, in sales or in crisis management or in team formation or retrospective, these kind of things, okay? So VIP for hungry, it's going to be visionary, inspirational, passionate. Be a VIP as a humble person, you will have to be virtuous, intelligent, and patient. If you want to be a VIP in a human situation, you will have to be vulnerable, inclusive, and purposeful. And if you want to still be a VIP in a humorous context, and that's probably the hardest, believe it or not, that would be really the hardest to master, subtle balance. You would have to be vibrant, right? Put a little bit of further skin in the game, right? You would have to be imaginative, yeah. And salespeople are good at that, right? Being humorous, and they always invent the next trick to crack into the customer's needs and this intimacy you need to build. And you would have to be playful and accept the games and be fair play, right? And accept to take a hit when hits need to be taken, and the other way around. Okay. Context switching. Become a VIP at context switching, and this way you will be a very, very impactful leader, and people will look up to you and say, "Oh wow." It's not about micromanagement, by the way, right? It's not at all about that. It's not about stretching yourself too thin. You will still have to make sure that you pick your battles and you keep delegating some things that you don't want to have to deal with. But you will have to do this context switching, and people you report and your colleagues and your peers even will look at you and say, "I don't know how you do it," and you will know the trick, right? And you'll practice it. It's not a superpower, or it will become only if you practice it day in, day out, and become better and better at it every day. Okay. All right, I hope that was useful. This is Drive and Thrive. In the next episode, we'll see how we go from there, right? From the first 90 days, from your strategic thinking, and from becoming a VIP at acing context switching. Let's see what comes next. But for now, have a great day. Keep driving and thriving. Take care.